The day began on a misty note with a light drizzle and a blanket of white embracing the apartment at Chapel Market. While the city, blurred like an old painting in the fog, awaited the sun to unveil the scene upon its own perfect timing, the street markets slowly started buzzing with busy buyers and sellers. With a capacity of 200 plus stalls, Chapel Market is a place where traders not only get together to sell fresh fruits, vegetables, and fish but also bargain on household goods and cheap clothes. The rain-drenched streets, the aroma of hot coffee and baked beans for English breakfast paved the way for a perfect start to a long day ahead. To get a closer feel of a city, one needs to know its streets and walls, the nuances, characteristics and intricacies of it, connect with people from different walks of life, collect pieces of individual experience from every possible place and then compile all of these to create a repository of the intended study of human connections and dimensions, thereby fostering a closer attachment to them. Streets are the interstitial spaces that play a multifaceted role by providing a network for all the dynamic social, economic, and physical activities, which in turn make cities a vital human habitat. While commuting to Covent Garden, we stopped at the King's Cross Underground as we came across a jazz band of few young musicians performing at full swing. As we joined them, we could feel how music transmits from air to mind, connecting souls and touching a chord within us that resonates with our heart, mind, and spirit. A shopping and entertainment hub, Covent Garden is a vibrant destination that hosts a multitude of pubs, restaurants, entertainment zones and wide-ranging shopping facilities. At every foot you walk, you would be meeting diverse groups of people coming together to celebrate life. From musicians to magicians, tightrope walkers to illusionists, food lovers to shoppers, the area offers time and place to all and boasts a unique blend of everything. Eventually, we arrived at 221B Baker Street, home to the world's most celebrated sleuth. This address itself is a character of the meta-characters that inhabited it, Mr. Sherlock Holmes and his colleague and biographer, Dr. John Watson. In the entire Sherlock Holmes canon, this address is a material ensign around which our imagination revolves and recreates, thereby retaining its freshness. Since ages, Bengali literature has given us a whole slew of super sleuths, and there is hardly anyone who has not been an enthusiast of detective stories after getting into his or her teens. We stopped at the iconic address for a while to play a famous theme with Mr. Holmes' most favorite instrument. As we got down at London Bridge Tube Station and started moving towards Tower Bridge, our feet came to a halt. A Japanese student playing the Victorian church organ located in the arches of the station caught our ears. Built in the 1880s style, the 250-pipe church organ was rehomed as part of a charity program, and commissioned at the station for common people. The sky wore a veil of dark grey as we walked past the London Tower, the historic castle on the North Bank, built over 1,000 years ago. This iconic structure is known to have played a prominent role in English history by serving as an armoury, a treasury, a menagerie, the home of the Royal Mint, a public record office, and the home of the crown jewels of England. The giant compass sculpture on the north bank of the Thames near Tower Bridge, coupled with the vibrancy of life around it, offered us an astounding view. With strong winds blowing across the Thames, the Tower Bridge at the backdrop looked like a custodian of time and legacy. The Tower Bridge, fashioned after the neo-Gothic architectural form, is often compared to a fairy tale castle spanning over the Thames. Unique and beautiful, it serves as an icon of the London skyline. The bridge acts as a major crossing, transporting people to Victorian London, telling tales of the city's defining landmarks from its very onset. Standing on the high walkways, one can relish a panoramic view of the city life of London from atop. With the Tower of London, St. Paul's and the Shard to the west and Canary Wharf and Shooters Hill to the east, the London skyline has long been an iconic part of the city's culture that offers breathtaking views of the city's silhouette to its visitors. Taking the steps down and gazing at the river closely, anyone from Calcutta would be reminded of the banks and waterways of River Ganges. It seems every river has a story running through it that it wishes to share with its banks. What if the steady stream was able to narrate its story? The tale of its journey, the pain, joy and how people gathered around it, would have settled down and wrote their anecdotes.
অনেক জমানো অনেক সাজানো অনেক বছর ধরে অনেক কিছু তোমাকে বলার আছে তোমার অতল সীমা ছুঁতে চেয়েছি বারে বারে কতবার কত ঠিকানা যে খুঁজে পেয়েছি তোমার পাড়ে ঘুম ভেঙে ভেসে গেছি তোমার নাড়ির নিবিড় টানে তোমার ধমনী জুড়ে মিশে আছি মানে আর অভিমানে তোমার গহনে ডুবে গেছি বারে বারে পাথরের মতো
It took us 10 minutes to reach Westminster Abbey from Tower Hill Tube Station. Once we were out on the surface, we could see the Big Ben towering above. The London Eye on the other side of the river stood tall with its glory, overlooking the crowd gathering below. The bell of the church rang, and history took over as soon as we got inside the Westminster Abbey. The 1,000-year-old heritage of the place never ceases to amaze its visitors. Serving as a site for royal coronations, royal weddings, kings, queens, statesmen and soldiers, poets, heroes, and villains, this outstanding medieval Gothic church presents a unique pageant of British history that is explored every time one gets inside. The tombs and effigies of over 3,000 renowned people buried here are like stopovers hosting anthologies of science, art, literature, philosophies and heroics during a time travel pathway spanning over 1,000 years. The feeling that one might get standing in front of the tomb of Sir Isaac Newton is inexplicable. The mind seems to defy the laws of gravity and motions and fly across centuries to get a feel of how societies changed and responded to challenges. While walking towards Trafalgar Square from Parliament Square, we saw a multitude of people thronging the street corners with varied purposes and agendas, political, social, spreading awareness, dreams and desires for justice, freedom and a good future for mankind as well as the planet they inhabit.
সাগরের মতো গণ্ডিবিহীন উদ্দাম উচ্ছল স্বাধীনতা মানে ভোরের আকাশে সাদা পায়রার দল
Trafalgar Square is one of the most vibrant and bustling places in London. A key landmark in the history of the country's social movements, it was designed on the area formerly known as the Charing Cross, to commemorate the British victory against the French and Spanish fleets in the Battle of Trafalgar in the early 19th century. This fascinating square is a perfect place to relax by the fountains and watch the daily activities that go on in the city. London can be rightly called the city of museums as it has been the home to thousands of years of culture with more than hundreds of museums displaying stunning galleries, harvesting assets on human history and culture, cognition, art, science, literature and whatnot. The British Museum, Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, Victorian and Albert Museum, National Gallery, Charles Dickens Museum are to name a few. Coming out of the Russell Square Underground, we walked some distance and reached the British Museum to explore 2 million years of human history and culture. Established in 1753, it is the custodian of permanent collection of immeasurable number of works and is among the largest and most comprehensive in existence. The remarkable collection spans over 2 million years of development and progress of the human race. Over 60 well-structured and decorated galleries display the greatest of collections, including world-famous objects such as the Rosetta Stone, the Parthenon sculptures, Egyptian mummies, Crouching Venus, Tomb of the Unknown Craftsman, the Ife Head, Arkan Drum and the Aztec Serpent. As we walked across the floors of the museum, it felt like we time-traveled in the backdrop of human culture and cognition. While Parijat and Pritam were walking on the streets of London, Sankar was in pursuit of different shades of history along the Thames on his way to Windsor Castle. Home to royalty and 1,000 years of royal history, Windsor Castle was built in the 11th century, after the Norman invasion of England. The buildings, the Bailey walls, and the green lawns of the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world whisper stories and folk tales in the wind to spread through generations, making it an exhilarating visit. With the violin out under the cloudy sky and the bow hitting the notes reciting Ode to Joy, a gentleman of Indian origin requested to play the tune of a classic Bollywood song. The music from a physically distant land resonated in the air of another soil, thereby proving the eternal truth of human connection and the critical role that music has always played in uniting people across cultures. On that windy and chilling autumn evening, Sankar walked into Hickey's music shop looking for some books. There, he met Ben Thorowood, who was trying his hands on a guitar. Ben is a drummer and drums teacher who used to perform in a band. Though he was forced to join a job post-COVID, he still dreams of his gig days to be back with vigor. As the two musicians had a short jam session, music from the two continents embraced each other on the banks of Thames and Kennet. Playing on harmonic minor, the violin recital took cues from Indian classical raga, while Ben's fingers hit the blues notes on the guitar fretboard. It's always a wonderful feeling meeting close friends and relatives while on a trip abroad. Greeting each other, spending time together, chatting on the roadsides make the bonding even stronger.
চল আটটায় বসে আয় সব তুলি কলরব দূর ভিলেতের কোন পার্কে নেশা বাঁচবার নেশা হাসবার নেশা খোলা মন হয়ে ভাসবার টেমসের তীরে বয়ে যায় দিন জীবনের স্রোতে কারকে
From a high rise just beside the Crossharbour DLR station, the Royal Observatory of Greenwich is distantly visible. It was a perfect place on a cold afternoon to sit and reminisce our small hometown on the banks of Damodar River in India. Our individual spontaneous culture and free thoughts found shelter under the blue sky, and the tender sun of England that listened to the tale of humans from another land. As we boarded a taxi to get back to our apartment, we never knew that the final surprise was still waiting for us. Seeing our musical instruments, the Iranian cab driver Ali asked our permission to sing a song. We gladly agreed, and to our utmost surprise, he started singing a very popular Indian song.
Ye dosti hum nahi todenge todenge dam magar tera saath na chhodenge ye dosti hum nahi todenge todenge dam magar तेरा साथ ना छोड़ेंगे, तेरा साथ ना छोड़ेंगे।